Hey everybody, my name is Seth and welcome to my YouTube. This is my Mars and Taurus video. This is the abridged version for YouTube like I did for Mars and Aries. If you want to see the full version of this video, you can hop right over to my Patreon. That's patreon.com/CancerVirgoAstrology, and you can get the full version there. So as of now, check out this preview, check out this abridged version. Let me know what you think. Leave some comments, share, like, subscribe, find me on Facebook, find me on Twitter if you ask me questions there. All that good shit up front. I'll see you around. Hey everybody, thank you for joining me in the second installment of the Mars Through the Signs series. Today we're going to be covering Mars and Taurus. Last week we went over Mars and Aries and the idea of Mars figuring out how to be a little bit more distant with its attachment to things, to be able to trade and to be able to give up what it has to get what it wants and face its inner demons and ultimately become either a thug or a business person, become the real driver of its own destiny, decide what it's going to be and what kind of emperor it's going to be. It's going to have to rule, things are going to have to be conquered. It's Mars and Aries, but it's the direction in which it's going to go and what the priorities are. Now, for either direction, you always end up in Taurus. After Aries comes Taurus, and with the first decan of Taurus, you have that transition from Aries. Now, Mars is a planet of projection, and the consequences of that projection, for better or for worse. This could be a projection of passion, like you see with sex or art. This could be a projection of power, like you see through war and violence or even aggressive peacekeeping treaties. Mars is all-encompassing that idea of projection, to project and to become an active participant within your own environment. That's what Mars is about. Now, this is a planet that really exemplifies the archetypal masculine. And when I say archetypal, I don't mean cultural. I don't mean the idea of masculinity that we have in mainstream Western culture today, of a man and being strong and being big and being aggressive and all the connotations that come with that. With archetypal masculine, it has to do with being the aggressor, being the person who activates. That's what it means to be masculine in astrology or within anything that's archetypal. It has nothing to do with male or female or the connotations that come with either of those. Now, Mars, like every planet we use in astrology, has a purpose. And there's a list of purposes for Mars. And for Mars, it kind of all surrounds the idea of winning, to propagate, to originate, to really become an active part of something, and not only be an active part, but thrive in that active participation. And what we do as people who have Mars in our natal charts, it's to provide context to that. So if Mars is about winning, winning at what? What's the game that you're going to decide to play for Mars to win at? If you want to propagate, if you want to originate what? What ideas are you going to be lending to Mars to originate? Mars is going to be associated with these words that are verbs. Like, he's going to be associated with these verbs, but you need to provide the context. What's the point? So Mars is represented in the tarot by this card right here, the Tower. And with this card, it's really a representation of destruction, if you want to get real simple. It's the idea of a crumbling of walls, the cutting of a safety net, the idea that what has supported you no longer will support you, what has protected you will no longer protect you. You're kind of ending up at the starting line of a race you might not have signed up for. So Taurus is represented by this card right here, the Hierophant. And when you're looking at Taurus within the realm of tarot, you're looking at the idea of very, 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 very dedicated virtuousness, almost religious dedication to one's own values and to what one believes is the right things to do, the wrong things to do, the right way to live, the wrong way to live. To dedicate yourself absolutely to what it is that you believe in this world. And putting this on to people, because we're now into feminine energy. Mars is meeting a feminine energy in Taurus, and it's not so much about continuing on the propagation, continuing on the active participation. Now it's about being subtle, and it's leading by example when you find Mars in Taurus, and that's because Taurus is a feminine energy that is not going to aggressively try to force you to do something, but it will do it their way and kind of not care what you do and hope that you care enough. Planets and aspects. You can have your Sun in Taurus, you could have Mercury in Taurus, you could have Jupiter in Taurus, you have Neptune, Uranus, any planet you want in Taurus. And what you're having is different slices of different perspectives. Each planet is lending itself to a different perspective on what Taurus can be. It adds dimension. But without all of those planets, Taurus is an energy of itself. And that is more of what the Hierophant is aiming at. Taurus without the implications of having dimensions that other planets provide. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So the context being provided today is Mars in Taurus, the Tower meeting the Hierophant. Every single sign in the zodiac, 360 degrees, each sign has 30 degrees to itself. It is a piece, a slice of the wheel. For every 30 degrees that a sign has, you break that 30 degrees up into 3 parts. So we're talking about Taurus. Taurus has from 0 degrees to 29 degrees of the zodiac wheel. From 0 to 9 degrees would be the first decan. From 10 degrees to 19 degrees would be the second decan. And from 20 degrees to 29 degrees would be the third. And what's going on in the middle? There's an overarching theme that we're going to be picking up on and discussing. And that's what I want you guys to understand. When I go through each decan, there's a reason, because it's a transitionary energy. We're moving from Aries influence to Gemini influence within Taurus. Every sign has that. So this is the first card for Taurus. This card represents the first decan of Taurus, and it's the 5 of discs. I use the Crowley deck, so this is why you're seeing less traditional imagery. And to be able to communicate in a very Taurian way, especially if you have Mars in the first decan of Taurus, you're going to be focused on communicating what it is that you see and communicating what it is that you understand. It's going to be in a very fixed nature, because Taurus is a fixed sign, and that is a context for Mars to activate. Mars will not change that fixality. It will run with it and push it out there for people to deal with in subtle ways. And now some of those subtle ways may be you just saying what you feel, saying what you think, saying what you see, and other people maybe not appreciating that, because it may feel a little heavy on them. It may feel a little bit like you're trying to tell them the facts when it's really just your opinion. You may have to watch the way that you speak with a placement like this, because of the way that you do activate through your language, through your logic. And a theme that goes along with this card specifically is the idea that you get rejected by your communities, or at least the communities that you are most interested in. You may get rejected by them early on, or get rejected by them first, because they do not appreciate that opinion that you have. And you may find that people expect you to either agree with them or leave, shut up or leave. And leaving seems to be your only option, because it's hard for you to shut up, and it's hard for you to agree with someone just because they want you to. You're gonna have the next card in the tarot for Taurus, the second decan of Taurus, is the 6 of discs. So with the second decan of Taurus, you actually have a little stronger of an idea of who you are automatically. When people reject you, you kind of pull away anyway. You don't fight too hard to be respected. You don't fight too hard to be liked. You don't fight too hard to kind of get people on your side. You are naturally on your own side. You're naturally more than likely to treat people the way that they treat you. If they reject you, you reject them, sort of situation. And that can be healthy. It's a good lesson to have. It's a good way to keep yourself protected and to keep yourself within yourself, self-contained, self-satisfied. But it also can be pushed a little too far if you're not sure why you're doing it, and you can end up kind of isolating yourself from people who could understand you if, again, you are not communicating in ways that are effective. So this decan also really delves into the idea of understanding when and to whom to say yes, and to say yes to. So this card right here represents the third decan of Taurus. It is the 7 of discs. With this third decan, like every third decan, there is a somewhat unfair amount of pressure. And you can kind of see that most perfectly demonstrated with this decan of Taurus, with Saturn being the influence there. Unfair pressure. There's going to be a copious amount of people giving or people laying expectations onto you, expectations onto your name, expectations onto your lifestyle. Where people, if I want to give you a tip or a trick with this placement, do for the good of the world. Don't hoard. Keep in mind, it's going to be harder and harder to kind of keep track of the messages and the themes and the lessons of the signs that come before as you keep going from sign to sign to sign. But keep Aries in mind. Don't hold on to anything, because this is a placement, especially with Mars again, and then this decan of Taurus, this is a placement that can amass. When you stay strict, when you stay on the line, when you stay within the boundaries that you've created for yourself, you get immense success, immense ability to gain tons and tons of power and influence and material. And the best thing for you to do is to keep your temptation low. If you have a ton of money, find something you believe in and donate to it. If there are things that you don't believe in, if there's a Chick-fil-A, then help give money to the place that's fighting that, to a place that sells the same type of food or sells food in general and does believe in the rights of homosexuals and the rights of people who are just different. If you're someone who can amass a lot of influence, say something about the idea that you don't believe in Amazon being backed by the NRA, or the idea that you want to advocate for companies that are against the NRA, that maybe are within the same field as Amazon or maybe not. Being an advocate, being someone who supports, being someone who puts their money where their mouth is to again, keep trading what it is that you have for what it is that you want. What are your values? Try to make your values something that you see around you. Try to fight against what you don't believe in. If you feel like something is wrong for the world, advocate for the other side and give them some help. That's what it's going to end up being about. Move farther and farther away from this sense of self. That's, again, a Gemini influence we're going to move into. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, if you want to see the full version of this video, there's going to be a link down below to my Patreon where you can become a patron and see the full series up there. Mars and Taurus is already up there. Patreon gets it first. You guys get the abridged second. Yeah, if you liked the video, let me know in the comments what you think. Let me know what you guys are thinking about the decans and this new approach, and including the tarot, and just your opinions. Talk to me. I'll talk back. So thanks for watching, and be sure to stay tuned because you never know when I'll be talking about you next.